Welcome to the All About You podcast. That's YEW for your emotional well-being. My name is Pat McKeown. I started this podcast to record conversations with a variety of people about their emotional well-being. I encourage my guests and listeners to have nothing to hide when it comes to their emotional experience, and I attempt to embody this philosophy as your host. Through total disclosure, I want to educate myself, my guest, and the listener about the universal human condition. Today's guest is Dan Glynn. In our conversation, Dan and I cover a lot about his emotional well-being. We discuss the reasons why Dan became a personal trainer, his mindset, and a holiday which changed his life, to name but a few topics. I thoroughly enjoyed my conversation with Dan. He is a true gentleman with an invaluable emotional sensitivity. Please accept my apologies in advance for the sound quality. We recorded it in a gym environment where you can hear some background music and weight smashing. I promise you, however, that this conversation is worth the listen. Now, Daniel Glynn.
How's it going, Pat? What's the story? How are we?
Not too bad, not too bad. This podcast is all about you. It's great to have you finally on.
Yeah, it's good to be on now. I'm obviously been following your stuff for kind of a while now, and it's an area that I am interested in, because I think as kind of in Irish society it's a big downfall. It is improving, don't get me wrong, but it's still a big area that needs work on.
Yeah, and I remember it's 5 months ago now. It's an absolute disgrace that I'm only getting around to it.
Better late than never. It's fine.
Near the end of May. But telling you about what I was doing and what I wanted to do with the podcast, and I could see the kind of light in your eyes, like, geez, this is something that sounds really interesting, that I'd love to be a part of it. Yeah. What about, talking about our emotional health, the podcast to you, and the whole idea of having nothing to hide and revealing our emotional selves? You were very interested in it. I was curious to know what inspired that interest in you and what made you agree to come on in the first place.
So I suppose, for me, in the past, yonks ago, I would have never, really zoned in or focused on this kind of, mental health side of things, or even known about it or anything at all. And, anyone that, I heard talk about, or, even listen to people, I'd, hear, that boy is for the birds, he's in a world of his own,
Okay.
And then it's got to, I suppose it just got to a point with me, I went on the holidays. It would have been about maybe 2.5 years ago, and I was only back from America in the J1, and came back from America anyway. It's savage time, but the way I piled on was incredible. It was sick, and to be honest, I didn't even notice this looking at myself. Then I was going through college, first few months back flying, and then all of a sudden, you'd be with the lads or something like that, and be like, oh, come here, you fat fuck, or whatever. I know, to take that not as an insult, you're just having a crack, whatever. But then, it kind of got to a point where I just looked in the mirror one day, I was like, fuck me, Jesus Christ. When I realised the actual weight I had put on and everything like that there. So then, even before that, I was kind of getting more of an interest in, health and fitness, and, how it all works and everything like that there. And then the more I kind of began to learn about that, the more I kind of learned about mindset and different stuff like that there as well. So obviously when I got to that point when I was looking into the mirror, I was like, right, fuck me, what am I going to do here? So I can either keep beating myself up, or keep saying, oh, whatever, just stay where I am, or I can look at it as a way to change. So that, once I looked in the mirror, literally it's probably about maybe 3-4 weeks later, we were on that holiday, and I literally spent 7 days non-stop listening to podcasts. I'd wake up in the morning, listen to a podcast, bite food, listen to a podcast, walk to the beach, listen to a podcast. I haven't thought I was an unsocial fucker,
Yeah.
But the whole time I was listening to this actual podcast by Jamie Alderton, he's kind of a big kind of fitness instructor over in the UK. But his main thing he focused in on with clients himself, how he built himself up, and his business was all through mindset. So I listened to this anyway, and there was probably literally about 80 episodes, each an hour and a half long, and I listened to the whole podcast on that holiday. And ever since that, everything just changed me completely. How I looked at myself, how I looked at the world, how I viewed everything was just completely different. Before that, I would have a very fixed mindset. Whereas now I consider myself as a very open-minded person. So a fixed mindset is let's say you don't win a race. And then a fixed mindset person is, fuck this, I'm never going to run again. A person with an open mindset, like, right, I didn't win the race, but I came here, and what can I do next time that I can get to here?
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like a more positive approach to like how you live your life and how you kind of go about your day-to-day like stuff, like. And then once I started applying that was when everything changed for me. Like, I got into shape, I lost all the body fat, got my confidence back up, people were noticing, so obviously that built my confidence up as well. And then it's just from there, like, it just kept building to like where I am now. Like, I'm in about a year and 2 months into my business, things are flying, and it's just, yeah, I suppose the more you learn about yourself, the more you can grow as a person and grow others around you too, like.
Yeah, so going back to when you came home from the J1 and you're looking in the mirror and you're feeling bad with yourself, presumably a big knock to your confidence, and you had low self-esteem, and you went on this holiday and you're listening to, what was the guy's name?
Jamie Alderton. He's like
Jamie Alderton.
Jamie Alderton, yeah. Okay.
And so if you were to boil down how he informed your approach into, a few sentences, what inspired you to have that open mindset? To change from, as you would frame it, having a relatively closed mindset to having an open one. Was there a core philosophy to what Jamie was inspiring you to share, or inspiring you to think about, or was there a catalyst for a change there, or was it just the whole experience?
I suppose it was kind of more so like a whole experience, like, because he had different guests on who like specialise in different things. So one might be like a productivity coach, or another person might be like you understanding like the difference between a fixed and open mindset. There's like different areas coming from everywhere, so I was bouncing all these into one. Yes. So when I was kind of learning about this stuff, like, I was just understanding like what I do. So like why I, let's say, I don't know, like why I might eat like shite food, like what will that actually give me, what will it benefit me? Well, not even in food, like in terms of like your day-to-day stuff, like it's just literally learning about you and what you can do and what you can change to like grow, like. And the main thing for me, I suppose, like, I wanted to be a personal trainer, and it was something I really, really wanted to do. Then I was looking at this fella, and like he built himself from, like, he lost his job, he had a mortgage, he had a family, and then he went from 0 to 100 within 2 years, building his own business. 10, 12 people worked for him. And I suppose, like, when I was looking at that, I could kind of, like, obviously I wasn't as in deep as him, but I was looking at that from my perspective, like, right, I want to be a personal trainer, and I'm extremely, for me at the time, for myself, I felt like I was really overweight. Like, I was like, right, how can I help others if I can't help myself? Like, yeah. It's very hypocritical. So I suppose what I learned from him is, like, help yourself and learn about yourself so you can learn and help others from that there. Was the main kind of thing. Nice.
So by the sounds of things, Jamie seemed to really inform your potential. So he kind of actualized this idea in you that, you can do all of these different things, and it's not, he's not the only one who can do it. And by the sounds of things now, you've been inspired to try and share that with other people through not only speaking to the listener today, but also through helping your clients with their own personal goals. So what about personal training specifically attracted you in the beginning, and how did you set out on this path?
Well, first of all, like, when I finished my leaving cert, obviously I was going to college, and I was studying head of leisure in Tralee, down in Kerry. And my initial thought was like, right, I'm going to be a PE teacher, this is going to be grand. 4 years, maybe 2 years down in Limerick. Nice, handy, quick, easy job. I'll have the summers off. I'll be living the dream. Like, this will be grand. And then I suppose like a few lecturers, like going to their lectures, listening about, like, because our course wasn't just PE, so you had like PE, you had gym instruction, personal training, sports psychology, health studies. You literally had anything and everything. So you kind of got a good broad range of it. So the more I started learning about like nutrition, learning about training, and then the more the psychology aspect, that really, really did big wonders for me towards the end of second year, third year. The more I started learning about that, the more I wanted to do personal training, but take it in my own approach in a different route, because a lot of personal trainers out there, I'll say it straight, they're absolutely shite. Like, they're in the job because they don't give a fuck about what they do, and the only thing they care about is the money that's coming into their account by the end of the week. Like, and they don't actually care about like helping their clients or transforming their clients. Like, so what I wanted to do is, like, the more I learned about that was just take my own approach for personal training, and then once I see myself, like everything I learned I applied, and I seen the confidence it gave me when I changed myself that time. How much more energy I felt, how much better myself I felt, even my mood with other people like was 100 times better. Like,
when you were training,
when I was training, when I learned about it, when I was at that point when I put on all the weight and I lost it all and everything like that, there, the difference in me, it was like two different people. I personally felt like most people who know me from about 6 years ago, I'd say to now, like, Jesus, it's not the same person. Like,
okay, yeah.
But I suppose, like, what I learned from that there and how much better I was feeling, I wanted to do that and put that into others, like, because, like, we neglect it so much, like, not even just our health, our physical health, but our mental health, and like you need to get what I say to people, like, you need to get your head first before you get your body first, because if you're not in that mindset, if you don't know all these things, like, you can follow whatever training plan or whatever nutrition plan or whatever it is, like, but unless you get the psychological aspect right first, you're not going to go anywhere. Or you can get, like, you did even see these things like this 6 week transformation thing. Great, yeah, I go hell for leather for 6 weeks, don't learn anything about myself, don't learn anything about how to do my training, I completely throw everything out. I feel miserable through the whole process. Yeah, I lose some weight. If you look at that person 2-3 weeks later, they look completely fucking different.
Yeah.
Whereas my whole thing is like, right, how can I get someone to a point where they're going to be happier in themselves, they're going to be more confident, their clothes are going to feel better, they're going to be in an overall better mood, they're going to look and feel better, but they're going to be able to keep that. Because that's the main thing, like, from that there. So that's the whole thing that I like to kind of do with my clients and like anyone I work or anyone I help at all. Like,
it sounds like we're massively on the same page when it comes to, you know, we look at our minds first, we look at our emotional well-being first before we try and start, you know, working out and looking good, because, you know, I think some people their motivations aren't necessarily in order when they're thinking about, you know, their physical health and their emotional health. Like, they're looking at losing weight to look good, and they're not thinking about why they want to look good. Well, you want to look good because looking good feels good, but there are steps to feeling good which precede looking good.
Exactly.
You know?
Like, when I get it, like, it's the exact same. Every client that comes into me, like, we always have like a first consultation just to run through things. The very first question I'll ask them is, what is their goal? And I'll always get these things, I want to tone up, I want to get into this dress size or something like that, and they'll write it down, and then I'll just stop them, like, right, why do you want to do that? They're like, oh, what do you mean? Like, I'm like, why do you want to do that? Well, I just want to be in a size 8. Like, why do you want to be in a size 8? Because my clothes will feel better. And why do you want your clothes to feel better? Yeah. Because I'll just look better. But why do you want to look better? Like, it's trying to understand your why to know what it actually is. And then it breaks down. Like, it could be like, for a mother, like, prime example, like right, I want to get down to this size dress because I'm going to feel more confident in myself. If I feel more confident in myself, my kids are going to show that, so I'm going to set a good example for my kids then.
Yeah.
So that's your actual reason why you want to get in shape.
Yeah.
Not because of the fucking dress size. You realistically don't give a fuck about that.
Yeah.
You just getting deep down into it. You want to just set a good example for your kids so they can learn from you and apply that to their life going forward.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do.
Yeah, I suppose I think the ultimate motivation for why we do anything in life really is because we wanted to inform our emotional experience. You know, we do things because they enrich our lives, and if we want to enrich our lives, hopefully that enriching experience will be, you know, passed on to those around us, you know.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Jamie Ollerton has a similar motivation to yourself, and that his approach was infectious to you, and now that you've been a vehicle to bring this philosophy to so many other people as well. It goes to show the power of a good idea and good philosophies and in really kind of improving people's lives in a helpful way, as opposed to a more pathological way where I think, you know, much like yourself, the whole idea of, you know, 6 weeks get ripped, or, you know, drop 5 sizes in 10 days, and, you know, they're dehydrating themselves to crap and they're taking before and after pictures, and you know, it's totally rooted in narcissism as opposed to an actual more holistic sense of who they are and what they want to achieve, you know. Because when people are purely focused on the aesthetic side of things, that's all physical, you know, that's all external to their conscious experience, you know, and that's ultimately ignoring the thing that is going to provide the most meaning for them in their lives, I would argue. Now, I'm sure some people might disagree, but going back to your emotional experience specifically, what has it been like, you know, preceding your journey to become a personal trainer? You talked about, you know, that time you went to America for the summer, and you felt you became overweight and, you know, fat, and the journey went from there. But what was it like before then? What's your emotional experience been like over the last 20 years?
So this is a good question that I would have never really thought about before, actually. Like I was saying earlier, like if people like who knew me 6 years ago and know me now, I'm like two different people. But like what really annoys me is a lot of people say, "Oh, he's changed, not the same person he used to be." But to me, that doesn't matter. Like you could feel miserable, but you could change and be a much happier person, a lot more fulfilled with what you're doing.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that's bad. Like that's fucking unbelievable. Like for me, I suppose, like what really changed for me is what I really valued in my life and what I actually wanted to do. Like I just became a really deep thinker. Like some people think I'm a bit Lulu, but that's fine. Like, but like I suppose before, like any classic 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old, like you just like going through college, school, whatever, living for the weekend, go out for a few drinks, do whatever, like have the crack. And that's fine, like that's good. Like when you're that age, obviously that's where you want to be like. And for me, that's like what I live for, like just going out having a crack, like any normal person. Like, but then, like I was saying, the more I learned like that there, the more like I was looking at like, right, if I'm going out every weekend, what am I actually going to get out from this? Like, or what, like where am I going to go with my life? Like what am I put on this earth to do? Like am I just going to go through the motions, do a 9-to-5 job, or I'm doing my hours, I live for Friday fucking evening, Saturday and Sunday? Like for me, the last thing I ever want to do is live for the weekends. Like your life's not made for your weekends. Your life is made for every single day you wake up. So for me, again, I suppose I got to that point where like just learn about myself, learn about knowing what I want to do, knowing what I valued, and then just the whole thing changed for me. Like I was saying to you before, like basically just looking at what I was doing, and then I suppose, how the fuck do I explain this? You know, it's actually a really tough question to answer. Like I suppose for me, it's just like I was saying, going for that fixed open mindset, and then knowing what I want to do, and like building myself up, building others around me. Like for me, like I've actually changed an awful lot. Like I used to be a fucker, I'm not gonna lie. I used to like slagging people off the whole time, like generally speaking, just for the crack. Like I'd be very critical of someone, or even like that. Like I started out as that. Like I won't lie. But then like I was saying, more I focus on a mindset, learn about like how your mind works, how you like look at the world, and how it affects you. I completely changed there. Then I was like, right, like I can slag someone off. Like obviously I still do. I'm not a boring fucker that much. Like, but like, it's understanding people's feelings and emotions, and like what you could say to some person can make the biggest difference. Like when I'm even walking around the gym floor, or even meeting someone in town, talking to someone, like I'm looking at that person like, right, if I could take 2 minutes out of my day and like say something to them, that could be worth a fucking lifetime for them. Like I put up a post on my Instagram a while ago. It was just about the darkness and the light run I done. Now about a year and a half ago, my uncle actually committed suicide. So it still is a big thing that me personally I'm fine, but my family kind of do struggle with a little bit. Just because obviously it's a huge thing, and we weren't really expecting it. We knew he was sick, we knew we were struggling with mental health stuff like that there, and then everything going on, and then all of a sudden I remember I was in college, and then I got that phone call from Mum, and I was like, fuck, right. And that was actually about 2 to 3 weeks before the holiday that I was talking about listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
So I suppose I actually never really focused in on that much. I tried to brush it away, which is probably one of my downfalls. But when that happened, then the holiday came. It was like literally 2-3 weeks after, and that's when I started listening about mindset and everything like that there. And the more I was focusing on that kind of area, like how like bring more positive kind of stuff in towards my life rather than throwing all the negative shit out. The more I learned, like, right, there's a lot of things you can take into perspective. Like, that's a huge thing that happens in my family, and for us, and for me personally, I was like, right, I can keep dwelling that, I can keep focusing that, I can give out about what I should have done, what shouldn't I have done, or what could I have done, or what could we have done, or whatever. But I can look at like, right, that happened, but like, which would that person rather, that you feel miserable or you do something and like do something successful for your life, you can help others.
Yeah.
Which I suppose is why with me I focus so much on mindset with my clients. Like when I have clients who are like, Jesus, you're like a fucking psychologist inside here. Like I've even been training people on the gym floor, and like I can see their heads in that way. I can see there's something going on when I'm training them, like, what's up, like, which they won't talk, like, right, let's go. And I'd actually bring them out of the gym, go for a walk, and then we can dive into what's actually going on. Yeah. Because like I was saying, if you haven't got your head right, you're not going to get anything right. Like one training session compared to like a talk about what's going on inside your head is going to be a lot more beneficial than any training session you'll ever do in your life. Yeah. So for me, overall, to answer that question in the long big spiel, I suppose it's like looking at your life and be just more positive on it, like rather than focusing on the negatives, rather than focusing on what you could have done, what you should have done, what can you do going forward that's going to build you and build others around you. Like,
yeah, there's so many things that shine through that I love to touch on there. Like, a few things that came through to me when you're reflecting your emotional experience, was the whole idea of change as not being a bad thing. I think that's deadly, because
huge.
Because sometimes people frame the whole idea of change in a bad way, like, oh, he's changed, he's not the person he used to be. But like you said, change doesn't have to be a bad thing. Change can be a wonderful thing. You can change from a less informed person to a more informed person, and better in touch with your own life and the lives of those around you. And I think the change that you've experienced has been fantastic, and I know I've experienced a similar change too. Years ago, I was a kind of a bollocks. I was kind of a bunny,
Yeah. I was a fucker in school.
Yeah, when I reflect on my relationships with people I knew and people I didn't know, like, oftentimes I'd be having a great laugh and I'd be slagging people, and it's only in recent times that I kind of realised that, Jesus, I was basically bullying some people, and it was a real kind of outward expression of the discomfort I had with myself, because I wasn't confident. I had a very low self-esteem, and I pathologically expressed that in terms of ridiculing the world around me, and at the time I thought it was benign, I thought it was a good laugh, but now on reflection, like, Jesus, I could have really affected some people there, and I hope I didn't. I hope I was right, but at the same time, I would be unsurprised if I was wrong. So, did that change for me in becoming more emotionally sensitive to the needs and of other people has been a fantastic change for me, and that seems to be something that's happened to you as well. You've become much more informed about other people's emotional needs, and a massively important event in your life happened very recently, with your uncle dying by suicide. And I'm intimately familiar with suicide, not only through losing my aunt in the same circumstance, but also being suicidal myself. So it's a bizarre experience to go through. It's very confusing. I know I was flabbergasted when my aunt died by suicide.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I kind of went through those experiences, those suicidal thoughts myself, that I begin to realise what was happening, and I think you said something of sincere value when you're reflecting on how you are going to move forward with this event. You know, what intentions or motivations did the person who died have? You know, did they want everyone to dwell and wallow over their death for the foreseeable future, or you know, would they have wanted, you know, success, to lead a successful life from henceforth? Like, in you know, having been there myself, it's absolutely what you want. You want the best for everybody, and you're coming from the unfortunately ill-informed position that you think, you know, dying is the way forward, you know. And I think that's part of everybody's mindset when they're in that suicidal place, that they're thinking, well, the world would be a better place without me in it. So that it's brilliant that you realised, you know, and were able to actualise that in yourself, to honour your uncle's memory, you know, is to be successful and to, you know, improve the lives of other people, and to be emotionally sensitive to the people you meet in life. So it's a horrendous experience to have, and I know in my own life the sense of loss is horrific, and I'm sure it's similar for you and your family and your extended family as well. But their life and their death doesn't have to be meaningless. It can really enrich our approach in terms of helping others.
Exactly, yeah.
You know?
Like, it's really trying to look at these things, and like if you look at most successful people out there, like, they've got to a point where they've become at rock bottom, and then they've built themselves up, generally speaking. So when I was, like, again, watching all these people, listening to YouTube videos, podcasts, whatever it is, like Tim Ferriss, Gary Vaynerchuk, and all of these people, they all came from rock bottom and built themselves up from there. So obviously that was a point where, like, it was fairly shit, like, and shit for obviously my family members and all, but for me personally, I just took it like, right, like, what can you actually achieve by still fucking dwelling in on this moment? Yes, obviously you're going to give, like, your sympathy, and you want to, like, go through that stage where you're feeling shit, but it's getting past that point and realising, like, the more you stay there, the more you're not going to grow, or the more you're not going to develop, or the more shit you're going to feel. So it's looking at these points like, right, what can I learn from this, and what can I take from it? So for me, it was, I suppose, looking at that point and, like, learning so much about my mind and how it works, like, and how it can affect others, and then trying to instill that in my clients and obviously myself too, because it's just like taking that point where you get from rock bottom and then build yourself back up, because the only way is up. Like, you gotta look at, like, don't look in the past, don't look to, like, what you could have done, what you should have done. Look at what can you do going forward, and what can you learn from that experience that's going to build you going forward. Yeah.
And a point I've made a few times that it's really informed how I approach life is like, what you did there was a selfish thing. You took that experience and you helped it mould and inform who you are now. But selfishness doesn't have to be a bad thing, you know. I think it's easy to see how selflessness and selfishness converge in that instance.
It's huge,
because you realise, right, what can I learn from this event? How can I move forward, and how can I become a better and healthier person? But part of that was trying to impart that wisdom that you gained onto your clients, onto the people around you. So you also helped the lives of other people, which was a kind of positive feedback loop where, you know, by being able to help others, you're able to help yourself. And in that instance, you know, selfishness and selflessness converged. I think when people, if people experience really sincere difficulty, like the difficulty you experienced in that instance, you know, it's not selfish in a pathological way to wonder, how can I develop from this, and how can I learn from this experience to help myself grow and, you know, become more informed about life and the human condition. Because that selfishness can really help not only yourself but other people as well, and because it's going to inform your approach with everybody else.
Like I even say to clients, like anytime they come into me, I'm like, you're going to have to be selfish in yourself here, like especially for mothers. It's a huge thing they really, really struggle with, because obviously they have the family they're trying to look after, whether that's getting lunches ready, cooking the dinners, or whether they could be working like full time during the day or whatever, and like you have to stop, you have to relax, you have to be selfish for yourself for the next while. And all of a sudden they just start panicking, they start getting really, really worried, and like start shitting themselves. Like, look, relax, like look at, like, for you to be selfish within yourself now, it's going to provide so much more for them in the future. I'm like, and they're like, how will that work? Like, I have to stop doing this or stop doing that for my kids, for my husband, whatever. And how is that going to help them? Like, right, look, if we get you moving more, like you're being more healthy, you're being more active, that's going to improve your mood. So which do you think your kids are going to rather? This person who's miserable in themselves, or this person who's full of energy and full of life? Like, which person do you want to spend more time with? Yeah, I suppose when you actually think about that. Or even, again, like, which do you think they'd rather an example as of a mother when they grow up? Like, the mother who did everything for the family and cooked all the dinners, cooked all the lunches, prepped everything, did the shopping, did everything. Which do you think they're going to benefit more in their life? Them learning that, so if it's a son you have, they find a wife, they expect the wife to do the same thing, or that they can actually do it for themselves and learn from there. Like you have to help yourself before you help others.
Yeah. I think if you employ selfish means in an effective manner, ultimately it can be, altruistic. It can help other people. Definitely. So like it's funny you mentioned that idea as being selfish for yourself. I see it as being selfish for everybody else. Yeah. It's like you're being selfish to help other people. That's the ultimate goal, or that's the ultimate effect of being selfish in the most effective way. Another thing that shined through when I asked you about your emotional experience, you touched on the darkness into light with Pieta House and how you shared a post on Instagram, and I see you using Instagram very effectively in terms of your business and in terms of sharing your ideas with your followers and your clients. So it's clear to me that you're very good at using it professionally. So what I was curious about, what are your opinions on social media, both in a general sense, and what is your relationship with it like in maybe a non-professional manner? Do you find it a useful and informative tool, or does it have its detriments? How does it?
Social media summed up is the worst thing and the best thing ever to happen to me and to everyone else. Okay. For two reasons. Like, one, it can be extremely positive, extremely beneficial for you, especially in terms of business wise. Like, it can make your business grow insane. Like, but you gotta look at the other negative side, where is if you're looking at these type of stuff coming in. So like, the worst thing that drives me fucking insane is all like these bloggers or all these Fitspos or all this shit. Like,
what is a Fitspo?
I fucking know, but that's what it is.
I don't even know what that means. Sorry to interrupt.
I just always see the hashtag. I don't even know what it means. But like, but it's just these people, like, they're putting up photos of themselves, and like, it could be from like 6 months ago, or it's edited, it's photoshopped and all this thing. And then like, a big thing that my clients really, really struggle with is comparison. Like, it's a huge area with social media that really downfalls, like, because you could be working really, really hard and trying to improve yourself, and then you're scrolling through Instagram and you see this fucking idiot who's after throwing up a story of them eating a pizza, and then they have a post the next morning with them looking flat stomach, shredded abs, whatever like that, and then you're like, how the fuck is that going on? How can they do this and how can they do that? Like, whereas that photo was probably from 6 months ago, or they have a degree in Photoshop and a degree in nothing else. Like, that's where it's a really big downfall, because when you're comparing yourself like that, you're beating yourself up and you're going to get nowhere. Like, comparison is the thief of joy. It's a really good quote Brian Keane always uses. Because the more you compare yourself to someone else, the more you're going to stay the same. You're not going to grow. Yeah. So you've got to focus and zone in yourself, which is a huge area of social media downfalls on. Now, for me, I'm extremely vigilant with how I use social media. Like I'll only tip, like it looks like anyone knows me, like that boy's never fucking off it. Like I'm only on about 2-3 times a day. Whereas I'll have all my posts planned out, I'll have everything structured like that there, and I'm extremely watch who I actually follow on Instagram. Because again, if I'm scrolling through my newsfeed and I see this person who's throwing that up, or someone who's complaining about something or being negative, that's instilled inside my head, like. So then I'm getting all that shit being thrown into my head, which is going to affect me. Whereas I try to like really watch who I follow. So I'll follow people who like give me advice in training, or give me advice in nutrition, or recipes, or quotes. Quotes is a huge thing. People think like, oh, what a gimp, like, but when you start like getting zone more into your mindset and then you're scrolling through and you see, let's say you're feeling shit, let's say, I don't know, you had a setback in like your training or whatever, and you're scrolling through your news feed, and then just all of a sudden you see something like focus on tomorrow rather than now, or something like that, and it's instantly going to pick you up. Whereas you focusing on someone else who's this blogger or something who's after showing up this shredded abs picture and then he was out in the piss the night before, like that's just going to piss you off. So it's just going to show you more of a downfall, like. And for me, like how I structure my social media, like people are like, oh, like your stuff is really, really good. Like it's really, really simple and basic. Like a lot of it I actually use in what's going on in my head. Like some of them posts, like with the backstories, I'm not even going to share some of them, but it's actually what's going on in my head. And like I sometimes use my posts as a way to speed out what's going on and what I've learned from experience. Because others can relate to it, and because like a lot of people think, geez, I'm the only one feeling like this, and then if they see someone else doing that, like they're going to be like, holy shit, I'm actually not on my own here. And it's going to help them build themselves up, like. And I just try and use it to give as much value to someone as possible. Like the more you help someone, the more they're going to grow, and from a business standpoint, the more they're going to want to work with you. Like let's say even for you, for instance, Pat, like you were telling me before we record this, you want to get into like psychology, like helping people out, like instruction like that. And like if you look at, let's say, your social media, and we put, let's say, you and another psychologist together, like let's say one of them doesn't post much stuff in social media, and then you're flat out every day putting stuff up. And the person who's looking at you is engaging more with you, is developing more relationship with you, knows you better, knows how you work with clients, what you do, how you've gotten them to a certain point. Which person do you think they want to go with? You. It's instant, like. So obviously I use it from a business standpoint, but also use it as a tool for myself and a tool to help others.
It's interesting. You seem to use it really effectively as a vehicle for expression as well. Like, and but that's really what I'm all about. You talked about how important quotes can be, and one quote that's provided massive inspiration for me over the last really 5 years in terms of everything I've done online has been Gandhi, be the change you wish to see in the world. And with that in mind, I want to see a more open and expressionate society where people are coming forward with their emotional experience. And so with that in mind, I try my best to speak openly about these things. And I've written different blog posts, and I've recorded different things, and recorded audio and video about my own experience, and that it's been savage to see a response to that with other people doing the same.
And even when you're writing it, you're probably shitting yourself as well. Because I'm the exact same. Like I'll be writing something up, or I'll be doing something, I'm like, fuck, what's he going to say, what are they going to say, and then all this shit is going through my head, and then I just having this approach, like a lot of my life approach, like fuck it, don't give a fuck, and then I just post it up. And then all that shit that is building inside my head, building it up as this going to be this big explosion, is nothing. It's fine, and I'm actually getting messages off people or something saying, Jesus Christ, I can actually relate to that so much. And then it's actually throwing the shit that I had out of my head into me feeling fine, me feeling more comfortable or confident. It's like what I always say to people: the more comfortable you are, the more you're going to stay the way you are. So it's about stepping outside your comfort zone. And a quote that I always use is, never let your fears decide your future. So the more you fear something, the more you actually realise, generally speaking, it's nothing inside your head.
I think vulnerability is something that I try to embrace. And when I feel vulnerable, like, right, I'm feeling vulnerable now, but I'm not going to let that not going to let this feeling of vulnerability decide how I'm going to be. I'm not going to let that fear define my future.
Vulnerability can actually be a great thing. Like.
Exactly. I think it's something to embrace. It's something to think about, and it's something to combat through expression. You know, so when you're feeling down, you embrace that vulnerability and you say, despite feeling vulnerable, I'm going to share this with somebody. Or, you know, if you're feeling, you know, maybe in your instance with your clients, if you're feeling fat, don't kind of suffer by yourself and, you know, constantly berate yourself and, you know, be masochistic when you're eating, you know, all the foods you love. You know, try and do something more effective about it. You know, so I think our ideas converge on that point. So yeah, social media can be a fantastic vehicle for expression, but it's funny. Unlike yourself, I have a more tumultuous relationship with it. So, for instance, any success I have had with, you know, the You project, with the All With You podcast, with, you know, Cashface back in the beginning, has been through social media. So, in terms of the positive effect, or well, in terms of the effect, positive or otherwise, I've had in other people's lives, it's largely been through social media. So it's been, you know, huge, fundamentally important. But at the same time, I noticed that when the amount of time I spend on social media is almost like directly proportional to how low my mood might be. So the more time I spend on social media, that's typically indicative of, you know, a time where I'm feeling down or a time where I have low self-esteem. So I suppose that's why I asked the question, because I'm curious to understand other people's relationships with it as well, so I can kind of inform my own approach.
Like even with me, sorry for interrupting, even with me there, like I saying this, but obviously it's still like nobody's perfect. I'm not still going to have this thing where like I'm only in there 3 times a day or whatever. Like I could be in and out, or there could be some days where I'm fucking glued to it and my head's just all over the shop. Like what I actually have, like obviously I have my main trainer and business account. And I have my own personal account, but if you actually go on to my personal account, there's nothing on that in the last, like, I don't know, 6, 8, maybe even a year. Because like with the following and everything I followed on that, like it's just all people attention seeking and not looking for, that's not giving me any value or it's not helping me at all. So that's why I actually never use that account. And anytime, it's actually weird, if I have my phone and I dive into that account, I actually stop, like, right, what am I actually doing here? Like, I'm like, right, you're actually going back to like looking at other people to see, trying to get like attention, or so you're going like that, and it's trying to stay away from that. Because like social media, like I was saying, it is the best and the worst thing in the world. And like a good thing that I use on my phone is you can see through your apps like how much time you spend on them. So like there was a point there a good while, it must be 4 months ago, when I was working with one of my coaches. He was like saying, like, I want you to do this on your phone and see how much time you spend. And the time I was like fucking wasting so much time, like Facebook and Instagram, huge amount. And what I've just started doing as well, turn off notifications. Notifications off on absolutely everything. Like people, I actually did my Snapchat yesterday, and I went for like 5 days ago. Like, oh fuck, jeez, never actually looked at this. And like since I've done that, like I'm so much more productive. I'm getting so much more shit done. I'm feeling better. I'm fucking doing more things that's going to build me rather than me dwelling on pointless shit. I've struggled with trying to strike an effective balance. So for instance, when I was talking about how spending more time on social media is kind of proportional to how bad my mood might be, I've kind of gone from one extreme to the other, where I still have a couple apps which I've yet to delete, but I basically deleted all the apps. You talk about you haven't seen Snapchats from 5 days ago. I haven't seen Snapchats from 18 months ago. I just deleted Snapchat. You're still there, that'd be impressive.
I unfortunately I don't think they cached them all, but and it's the same with Facebook. No, I still go on to the website through the web browser and stuff. And I'm wondering what's the utility in that. So I've found it difficult to strike that effective balance. I suppose I just have to think more about it and act more appropriately on it. But because I want to effect a meaningful change through the podcast and stuff, but at the same time I want to basically spend no time on it, because I know it doesn't really help me, because it's a comparative game, it is. social media
you're defining
is
your
a
life
game.
by a fucking like.
Yeah, well,
it's a click of a fucking button. Like,
yeah,
seriously.
yeah. I think what many people don't realise is that Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, they're all games, and you're basically, you know, the gamification of it is how many likes can I get in this, how many retweets can I get in this, how many shares can I get in this, how many comments, you know, and
why did that person like it? Why did this person like it? And you actually like you can develop a relationship with someone that you could be really good friends with, and then they're not liking your posts or something. You're like, oh, he's a fucking dickhead. I'm like, seriously, man, like you're fucking defining this by your like you need to really evaluate your shit. Like.
Yeah, but it's strange that that's the world we're kind of living in. And like, for instance, there are people who I basically don't hear from now because I'm not on Snapchat. Yeah, and to me, it's just not a meaningful form of communication. Yeah, so I don't know. That's a personal
brand.
Yeah, exactly. Something I'm trying to figure out. So kind of a bit off topic from what we were talking about, but we've obviously talked about physical health and how important it is in your business. You know, you're trying to improve people's physical health to make themselves feel better. Yeah, and then we reflected on the idea of mental health. So I was curious to hear what does the phrase mental health mean to you?
Good question again. I suppose not again something that I wouldn't have really thought about, like what does it actually mean for me, because like I know mindset and mental health are very related, but I never associate it with mental health. But obviously mindset, it's working on your mind, so it is mental health. So I suppose mental health for me is putting yourself in a place where like you know what you're doing with your life, and you know where you're going, and that you're building yourself to be something you want to be and who you want to become. And while you're doing this, you're trying to live your life in a way that's more positive, more fulfilling, and that you have a purpose to what you're doing. That to me, that's what mental health is. Like obviously, we're not going to be these fucking airy fairy heads who are like, oh, the world's great and all this shit. Like obviously you're going to have negative shit in your life. That's a given. But it's trying to get more positive stuff day to day within your life that's, again, going to keep your head on the right track with whatever you want to do. And it's trying to keep the negative stuff out as much as possible. Obviously you're going to have to deal with some stuff, whether that's family, friends, whatever, relationships, whatever like that there. It's a given. But when you get this negative stuff, it's like it's not like focusing on like, right, this is so bad. Like let's say if you went through a breakup or something, like, right, this is shit right now. But let's try to take this in a positive aspect and like, right, what can we learn from this going forward? Or what can we learn about that person that we liked and that we can instill and try and find in another person? It's stuff like that there that, for mental health for me, it's having a more open mindset and approach to how you live your life and how you interact with others.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's kind of a different take on it than what I thought before. I suppose when the phrase health or being healthy is used, you know, we're talking about the most beneficial aspect of something, and that sounds, with that in mind, that sounds how you view the idea of having a mental health. So I suppose typically what I become disillusioned with the phrase mental health is when I feel like we're all a bit inarticulate when it comes to maybe understanding our emotional selves. So, for instance, I'll often see people writing about mental health and saying, "Oh yeah, you know, I'm suffering with mental health," and it's like they've caught it. It's like they've caught mental health off someone who coughed on a bus, or you know, they ate a bit of dodgy chicken. Oh, I've caught the mental health. Yeah. You know, it's not as a disease. Like, you know, you don't say I'm suffering from physical health. Like, physical health isn't a disorder, or mental health isn't a disorder. And another thing I hate about the phrase is that it's very clinical and kind of diagnostic. Like,
extremely. Like it's like when you're like, oh, I have mental health problems, or what medication, or what psychologist you seen. Automatically, that's what you think. Like when you're sick, you automatically go to a doctor, which I'm not going to get into doctors because they drive you insane.
Right.
But it's like, it's a very clinical aspect, and like that's why I think people veer and stay away from it so much, because they're actually afraid of making themselves vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like, especially with males, where this alpha male, like, oh, big fucking strong, you're not going to talk about all that soft fucking shit. But generally speaking, it's because you're too afraid to open yourself up.
Yeah.
Be more vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I suppose the reason I call what I'm doing you and the call of the podcast all about you is I want to really try and enforce that whole idea of emotional well-being, because it's less clinical, it's less diagnostic, and it's something that everyone can relate to. I feel like if you're talking about mental health, exactly like you said, oh right, mental health, right? So like you said, what medication are you taking?
Yeah.
You know, it's so clinical and diagnostic.
Yeah.
And that's its origin. It comes from the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders, the DSM.
Yeah.
You know, and we're using a phrase from a medical textbook in our everyday conversation, talking about basically how we're feeling. Like, to me, it's archaic and weird to if you were chatting to someone, let's say even a dear friend or a family member, like, oh, how's your mental health? You know, it's you're not a psychiatrist. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just wondering how people are feeling. You know, are you feeling down? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling happy? And like, feeling sad and feeling happy aren't aspects of your mental health, or aspects of your emotional experience, your emotional well-being. You know.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was just an aside as to why I focus on that, because I think a lot of time people are like, "Pat, you're such a pedantic prick." Just speaking the language that people are familiar with.
Yeah.
But anyway, I want us to, you know, evolve from our archaic beginnings of talking about mental health to talk about something more inclusive and kind of general to everybody, and talk about emotional well-being.
Yeah.
That's an aside anyway. So getting back to something else, we were talking about how social media has been a fantastic vehicle for you to express yourself honestly, and to show that to other people so that they can relate to you. And I was curious, you know, in your more personal life, in your everyday life, you know, how do you express yourself when you're feeling bad, or when you're feeling good, or happy, or sad, or angry? Are there ways which you express yourself to kind of manage those emotions?
I suppose there would be kind of certain aspects, like over the past few months I've been feeling extremely fucking overwhelmed, because obviously I work for myself, I run my own business, and like it all comes down to you at the end of the day. There's not like where you go into your 9-to-5 job and you don't do something like, you can say, oh fuck, I was the manager's fault, he's a dickhead or something. Like, whatever goes wrong, it's down to me. So that's why I was feeling extremely overwhelmed, because I was getting lots of inquiries, which is unbelievable. Like, I love when people like obviously message and want to work with me. But I got, like, obviously I was at a point where full up with clients and full up and everything, I was feeling extremely overwhelmed, so my stress levels were through the roof. And that's why I had that post again up on my Instagram a while ago, was when my body again got to a certain point, because I completely neglected my physical aspect side, because I was a yes man. I was like yes to everything and anything, and trying to help as much people as possible, because that's what I want to do. But like I said earlier on, contradicting myself, you have to put yourself first before you put others first. So that's where I was my downfall. So I got a point where I was stressed like fuck. My eating was all over the shop. Training, I was training, but there wasn't going anywhere. There was no structure to it. So I suppose at that point I was actually realising, looking at like what was going on, why was I feeling stressed. Like, that's a huge thing for me. Like, if I'm feeling really, really stressed or really, really overwhelmed, I'm like, right, stop for a minute. What the fuck is going on? Like, feeling overwhelmed. Like, right, there's all these clients coming in. So like a lot of it was like a lot of messages getting in. I'd be with like, let's say 9 clients during, or 10 clients that day in the gym, and then I've come home and do my accounts, do my posts, do plans, do nutrition plans, whatever. And I was getting all this stuff and all these messages, and I didn't know what to do. So like, right, why don't we just space out these clients, so we'll only take 8 a day maximum, and then I'll structure this day for, let's say, accounts. I'll structure this day, so every Sunday I'll do my posts up for the week. So I'll have all that done for that. So that way I'm not feeling overwhelmed, because I have a more structure to myself. So that's a lot with me with stress. And obviously, like, there's obviously other stuff that's going to be going on. But big thing for me that I've started doing over the last 5 months is actually going for a long walk with myself, listen to a podcast, or sometimes I'll even have my headphones in but I won't listen to anything, just in case someone tries to talk to me. Like, I got it. I got a social bastard.
Yeah, no, that's good.
But yeah, what I'll do is I'll actually have a walk with myself, walk by myself and actually just talk to myself, like, as weird as that sounds. Like, seeing, like, what's going on over, like, last 2 weeks, last few months, and am I happy? Am I on the right track to what I want to do? Am I going in the right places? Or, again, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, go out for a walk, get up, whatever, from what I'm doing. Looking at, like, what's going on, what can I do to help with it? So, again, it's that open mindset. Rather than feeling shit or feeling overwhelmed, what can you do to reduce that down? Learn about that. So, like, going for walks. Podcast is a huge thing. Like, if it wasn't for podcasts, I wouldn't be where I am right now today. No way. Like I went through college, but I tell everyone, I learn more from podcasts and books than I learned from in college. Like, so a huge thing for me is, like, podcasts. Listen to someone talk about a topic and learning from that there. And obviously, like, training, gym, a huge thing for me. Like even yesterday, I was absolutely exhausted. Tons of clients in a row. I was like, jeez, I'm fucked. I was like, right, you know what? Stick the headphones in, zone out, don't talk to anyone. I'm sounding like such a social fucker.
Oh, no.
I'm not that bad, I swear. But just zone out, get in your own mind, and just absolutely just smash a session. Like, and once I did that, fuck me, the energy felt it was completely different. Like, so obviously training's for me, going for walks, podcasts, reading books, and then, like, it is one area I really do downfall in, is actually planning something out or doing something on a weekly and daily basis that I enjoy. Because I'm a workhorse. I'm like, work. Like, I'm up at 5 every morning, I'm in bed at 10:30 every night. Day on day. But it's like trying to find something that you enjoy and you like doing, because that's going to make you feel more happier, more fulfilled. So even, like, the weekends, like, rather than me burying myself into the laptop trying to get all this work done, why not just take a few hours out or do something I enjoy? So might be going off with lads to do something like that. Or during the week even, like, again, I'd be like, I have to get this done, this client needs that client needs this post needs to go up. Like, relax, chill, man, it's not going to be the fucking end of the world. Like, a post or a client having to wait an extra few hours isn't going to make or break you, like. So it's trying to do something that I enjoy. So I'm trying to play guitar, like, trying to teach myself. I'm still dreadful. I'm getting there. But I might be even just doing that for 20 minutes a day. So I even tell clients, like, do something you enjoy for 20 minutes a day and structure that out. Like, a big thing for me is planning my day out. So each day I'll have time slots or tasks I want to get done, and on that I write down something that I want to do that day that I'm going to enjoy. So obviously it could be training then as well.
Instead, you strike me as very reflective and methodical in your approach to your life. You know, so thinking about how you've been doing things, how that's been affecting you in terms of when you're becoming overwhelmed with clients there a couple of months ago, and then methodical and kind of going forward and being able to realise, well, up until this point I've maybe been taking too much on, which has been affecting me this way. Well, maybe if I space things out, that'll reduce my workload, but, you know, enable me to, you know, still have a viable business, that kind of thing. So that seems like a very positive aspect of how you manage your emotions and your emotional experience effectively. And a really interesting thing, which you said you might sound crazy for, but I think you might be surprised at how basically everyone is like this, and I'm curious to learn more about it. You talked about how you go for long walks, sometimes you listen to podcasts and stuff, which seems to be a kind of meditative space for you to kind of bring yourself to a good emotional baseline, which is brilliant. I find podcasts similar in my life. They kind of just bring me off to bring me
so in your own world. Just forget about everything that's going on, because especially for me, like I even at night times I have a certain point where everything's turned off from work, social media, everything, and that's such a time. Like, I read a book before you go to bed. It's time for me just to zone out and forget about everything that's going on in the world. And
that's so important. And then what I was really curious about was those other times when you have your earphones in and you're not listening to anything, and you're in dialogue with yourself. You're talking to yourself, and you're, you know, thinking about all the things that are going on in your mind. So what I was curious to know is, what is your relationship like with your own mind, with your inner monologue? You know, how do you talk to yourself? You know, what kind of conversations does Daniel Glynn have with Daniel Glynn?
You don't know, is that fucked up? No, like, I suppose, like, it's just what's going on in my life at the moment. Like I'll have, like, let's say, headphones in, nothing being played, walk along. I always try to go somewhere where it's, like, a nice walk, like, not on, like, the side of the road or fucking something like that. But I'll be just walking along and just looking, like, the last 2 weeks, the way, let's say, something that's been going on, or a project I'm working on, or something where I want to go to, like I might even listen to a podcast for a little bit and I'll stop it, and then I'll just kind of relate it to myself and, like, how I can take what I learned from that and apply it going forward. So, like I was saying to you, when I was overwhelmed, that's when I went up for a walk, and I was like, right, how am I going to do? Like, I'm getting all these inquiries, like, what should I do now? Like, and then it's just breaking things down slowly, and then seeing what the best thing to do is. Like, I'll come up with, like, a few different approaches of what I could do, and then I might ask one of the coaches that I work with or something, here, what do you think about this? Like, just getting an opinion on stuff. And a big thing is write shit down. Write shit down. Like, I used to be a fucker for, I'd have these great, amazing thoughts, ideas, whatever, but then I come about 2-3 days later, like, oh, what was that about again? I can't remember, and I'm like, fuck it. Yeah. So it's writing, like on my phone, I even show you now, like, the amount of notes I have in this is insane. Like, in this phone I only have about 4 months, I've 250 different documents and notes. Yeah. Everything on it. Like, if my phone's robbed, I'm fucked. Yeah. You need to back that up. It's my lifeline. So, like, anything that I'm thinking or feeling or whatever it is, I'm writing it down, like, looking for solutions, ideas, or how can I learn, what can I take from this experience, what can I do with this experience going forward. And so literally just talking to myself, like, if I have a problem, I'll talk to myself about the problem, right, I'm feeling X, right, what can I do to change X, right, I could do this, and this. Okay, right, which one's going to be the best? Alright, that one's going to take time out of there, right, this one might take time out of that, or that's going to affect this, right, which one's going to be the best one? And then it's like a rating system, like, well, not even a rating system, but just you're looking and analysing, like, which is the best approach to go with. Pretty much. So it's very kind of, like you're saying, methodical. Like, I'm very, like, analytical. Like, I wouldn't have been like that before. Like for me in school, I was dreadful. Like, fucking, I barely struggled to pass ordinary maths. Like, I believe in cert was dreadful. Like, I hate school. I was shit in school. Like, everyone thinks, like, oh, I'm not smart in school or I'm not smart in college. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you can still be in a hugely successful, like, or whatever. But you just got to have that mindset and, like, learn. Like, your whole life is a learn experience. Like, the day you think you know everything is the day you know nothing. Like, you're constantly learning about yourself, about others, about what you want to do, and things will change. Like I say, when I went to college first, I wanted to be a PE teacher. If I was a PE teacher now, I'd be fucking miserable. Like, I hate it. So it's a learning experience. You've got to understand and realise that you won't have a completely perfect, but as long as you're better than you were before, you're still moving forward. That
openness to change you have has really informed your character and made you I suppose a more fulfilled person, which is brilliant. And another thing which really strikes me about you, I'd love to learn more too, is you strike me as someone who's very independent and, you know, self-reliant, and I'm curious to know, are there people in your life who you can, I suppose, talk to for counsel, or, you know, help you in your professional and personal difficulties? You know, do you have confidence?
I suppose I kind of do a little bit. See, the thing is, like, see, a lot of people these days, they think, like, setting up a business or being an entrepreneur is just, like, real kind of fashion, like, you know, like, kind of fashion type of thing, or this
it's cool,
and I'm like, they don't understand, like, the amount of thing that involved it. And the big thing is, when you're an entrepreneur and you work for yourself, it's a lonely game, big time. Like, you're working on, like, especially with my job, like, you work by yourself, like, you're doing all this stuff on your own, you're planning on your own, everything falls on you, it's all you at the end of the day. So that's why, for me, having, like, good emotional stability is so important as well, like, super important. But in terms of, like, support networks, before I'm finished up with him about 2 months now, I was working with a coach from Belfast, Phil Graham. So he's, like, a real, like, he's like built his business up from 0 to 100 again, like absolutely fucking killed it, like, and he focused a lot in a mindset, personal development. So obviously he was teaching me about me, and then obviously I was using him for accountability, for ideas, support, or like what's going on. Like a few times my head was absolutely fucked while I was working with him, like stress levels through the roof, not going on between family and different stuff like that. So obviously I'm using him as a support network, that I'm like, look, this is going on in my head. He's like, right, why are you feeling this? I'm like, oh, I don't know, and then he'd break it down like, right, it could be this, could be that, or whatever, and then we'd actually get to the point that we know why I'm feeling this way, and then we can resolve it. And then again, I'm moving forward, like learn about myself as I'm doing it as well. And then there's other coaches that I know kind of from across Ireland, where if I have an idea I might spur it on them, or again if their head's fucked, whatever, like I'm helping them with that there. Like some of the conversations we have is deep shit. If you hear us in the coffee shop, you're like, Jesus, these guys. But like it is important to have that kind of person, or that support network, where if you are feeling overwhelmed or stressed, that you can just feel everything that's going out and break it down. Because even with clients with me, like I was saying, like I'd have them on the gym floor, and they can tell by looking at them, like when I know straight away when someone walks up to me what way they are, like if they're stressed, if they're tired. You can just tell by the energy and how they look and feel, like. So if they're feeling like that, like that's where I come in. Like people think like personal trainer, it's for me personally, I believe it's more of a mental job than as a physical job, because you need to get the mental side right. Like anybody can follow a generic training plan or a nutrition plan and get results, but whether they stick to it and understand and realise about what they're doing and why they're doing it is the real focus. So again, when a client comes into me, they might not have any other support networks, like that's why they're coming to me, generally speaking. Why else would they hire me? Like, because they want my help and support. So that's why even for my clients, I'll do the same thing. Like that's like if they're stressing, like right, what's going on? Like they're like, oh, I don't feel strong today. I'm like, right, what's going on? Like oh, nothing. Like, no, there's nothing. You're lying to yourself. Like, oh no, it's grand. And like, you've already opened up. Like anyone who said, oh, it's grand, that's just another way of saying you're lying, like straight away. Like, so it's again like breaking this down, like what's going on, why you feel this way, and what can you do to resolve it and going forward. Which is why you focus that so much with clients there as well.
I think there's serious wisdom in your approach, not only to your clients, but in terms of your business development. You realise the utility of having a business coach. So you have your coach from Belfast to help you with your accounts, to help you with I'm sure with your social media, with how you interact with clients and stuff, because he's been there. So there you have the humility to understand that there are people out there who know more about this than I do, and I can learn from these people. And
it's just about looking for them people. Like people think there's nobody out there, or they're afraid to do it. Like that's the most thing. Like even when someone comes into me, the worst thing they do, well, the biggest fear they have is the first day before they come in, before they walk in that door. Once they got that done, that's the biggest part over with. It's the same for someone who's reaching out, like who's like people think like if they have to go to a psychologist that they're weak or something. Like they feel like again they're vulnerable, or that they shouldn't have to do this or something. Whereas if you actually get past that fear inside your head and reach out to that person, get their support, it's going to be the best decision you ever make in your life.
Absolutely. A big source of suffering for me in the past was kind of thinking I was alone, and thinking I was individual, kind of almost unique in my suffering. Like the way I'm feeling, no one else on planet Earth has felt this way before.
Right, you're completely on your own.
I thought I was completely on my own, and I was just so incredibly wrong. The amount of people that understood exactly how what I experienced, and now I've come to realise that the number of people that can relate to my experience on some level is 100%. Everybody can relate to my experience on some level, and some people can actually relate to it on a almost a total and complete level.
And you can learn from each other as well.
Absolutely. So to me the key to feeling better and learning about ourselves and learning even about things in a professional sense is to have the humility to know that you're not unique or special in your suffering. You know, there are other people who have experienced these things before, and there have been ways that they can, you know, take ownership of that experience and develop personally and emotionally, and even in a professional sense, you know, and that's been crucial to my own journey, if you want to call it that, and it's deadly to see that you also share that idea too. Now, before we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to share with the listener in terms of the things you find most important about your emotional well-being today on reflection?
Good question again. I suppose for me, like, if you're going to take anything from listening to this podcast, it's about application. Like, it's a huge thing. Like, like, prime example, my job, I shouldn't even be in a job. Everybody knows what to do. You move more, train more, eat better, you lose weight. But it's about the application, like. So if you can take anything from today, it's about applying, like, some of the stuff we talk about in terms of, like, knowing yourself, understanding yourself, what you value, what you want to do, how you interact with others, how social media can affect you, how to structure it. Like, it's about application of everything, because knowing and not doing is the same as not knowing. So you can know everything in the world, you can have a PhD, whatever, but unless you actually do it and apply it, you know nothing, like. So just learn about, like, for me, like, a huge thing is just learn about yourself. Like, for anyone who's only going to start listening to podcasts, literally they will change the game for you. Like try listen as much as possible, try to learn about yourself. And when you're, like, listening to these stuff, like, don't just listen to it and then throw it away. Like, listen to it and then stop for a moment and just think, like, right, how does this relate to me? How can I learn from this, or what can I do going forward to apply something? Like, it's a huge thing that I think, even myself, like, I won't lie, like I know a lot of stuff, but I don't fucking apply it, like. Yeah. So application is key. So important, like. Yeah. But you've probably found yourself, like, you probably even found, like, at times when you were feeling shit or something, like, you knew what to do, but, like, sometimes you might not have done it, or even, like, anything at all like that. You probably found that before as well.
Yeah, well, when I'm listening to a podcast, or when I'm listening to anybody, I try and really engage with what they're saying, and use their approach and their information to help better myself. Listen, I studied neuroscience for 4 years, and my emotional experience is fairly extensive in terms of having struggled with depression, suicidal ideation, anxiety, and a lot of those are kind of clinical terms. On a more basic level, I have a tendency for anger, sadness, or a fearful response to my environment. You know, that's something that people can relate to. Mine was just maybe a bit more extreme than your average person. So through my studies in neuroscience and through through the therapy I've gone through, I've understood so much more about myself, and there are so many things that I know, but sometimes I don't engage with that knowledge, and sometimes I don't apply it. You know, and that's crucial to have the wherewithal to apply the knowledge you know, and to give yourself the opportunity to feel better. And so listen, I fail often, and
everyone does.
I succeed often as well, you know. So it's important to use the knowledge we have to try and better inform our own emotional lives and to suffer less.
Huge.
Yeah. Well, listen, Daniel Glynn, this podcast has been all about you. Thank you very much.
Pat. Same.
You're welcome. If you enjoyed this conversation, there are many ways you can support the You Project. You can subscribe to the podcast on your podcast service of choice. You can write a review. You can share it with someone you know will enjoy it. You can follow the You social media pages, or better yet, join the This Group's For You Facebook group. In this new Facebook group, you will find fellow followers of You and previous guests of the All About You podcast. It will be a space for members to ask questions of guests, keep up to date with You initiatives, and get involved in the project. If you'd like to have a conversation with me on the podcast, please contact me through any of the social media channels. Finally, a Patreon account will soon be established for those of you who want to financially support the initiative. With your help, the project will become more viable and effective. Thank you very much for listening.